but instead, it became one of the most unbelievable finds in U.S. coin history. A simple 1996 Lincoln penny, the kind most of us have ignored for decades, has shocked collectors after one rare specimen sold for over $1.3 million. And the reason why will leave you speechless. It all started with an ordinary man in Denver, who picked up a handful of change from a gas station counter. Among those dull brown cents, one penny gleamed just a little differently. The tone, the luster, something about it felt off. He almost tossed it back. But curiosity made him look closer. And what he discovered turned his pocket change into a $1 million miracle. The 1996 Mint Mark Lincoln penny, struck in Denver, was supposed to be nothing special. Billions were minted that year, making it one of the most common modern cents ever produced. But that's exactly what makes this story so shocking. Hidden among those billions was a tiny handful of coins struck with an astonishing minting error, an error so rare that even seasoned coin experts can go their entire careers without seeing one in person. When this particular coin surfaced, collectors couldn't believe it. It wasn't just its pristine, uncirculated condition, it was the metal composition itself. Under close examination, experts realized it was mistakenly struck on a bronze planchet instead of the modern copper-plated zinc used after 1982. This meant it had the weight, the sound, and the feel of an older coin, but with a 1996 date and a Denver Mint mark. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word spread fast. Numismatic forums exploded with speculation. Could there really be a 1996 penny made of pre-1982 bronze alloy? The Mint never confirmed it officially, but several grading experts did. The coin was authenticated, graded MS68 red, and when it hit the auction block, it soared past every expectation. Bidders fought tooth and nail, pushing the final price beyond $1.3 million. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were rushing to check their own inventory. How could something so recent, so modern, be worth more than some 19th century rarities? The answer lay in that single, invisible mistake, the kind of minting error that isn't supposed to exist anymore. It's believed that during a production shift at the Denver Mint, an old bronze blank accidentally got mixed into a batch of new zinc planchets. Only a few strikes happened before the error was caught. But here's the twist that keeps experts awake at night. If one bronze planchet was struck in 1996, there could be others out there. Somewhere in drawers, jars, and boxes of forgotten change across America, a few more of these $1 million pennies might still be hiding, and the clues are subtle. First, check the weight. A regular 1996 penny should weigh about 2.5 grams, because it's made of copper-plated zinc. But if yours weighs around 3.1 grams, congratulations, you may be holding a bronze composition error. Next, examine the color. Bronze pennies have a deeper, richer reddish tone, compared to the slightly duller look of zinc. And finally, look at the mint mark, a crisp D, just below the date, slightly punched to the right. That's your indicator that it was struck in Denver, where this error likely originated. But that's not the only type of valuable 1996 penny out there. Some coins from that year also show doubled dies on Lincoln's eye or the letters in Liberty. These doubling errors, while not as legendary as the bronze strikes, can still fetch thousands of dollars depending on their condition. One such example sold for over $12,000 in near-perfect grade, all because of a faint doubling you'd need a magnifying glass to spot. Imagine that. A coin you've passed over 1,000 times in your life could be worth more than a brand new car. That's the magic and mystery of coin collecting. It's not just about metal and numbers, it's about history, accidents, and luck colliding in a single moment. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Many collectors believe that the 1990s Denver Mint batches had other undocumented experimental planchets floating around. If true, the 1996 penny could be part of a small run of transition test strikes, coins that were never meant to enter circulation. Most were melted down, but a few escaped. So the next time you dump your change on the counter, pause. That dull, ordinary penny might hold a secret older than it looks. Pick it up. Feel the weight. Listen to the sound when it drops on a table. Bronze rings differently than zinc. It's a subtle tone, but collectors who know it instantly. That sound could be worth a fortune, but what makes stories like this so powerful isn't just the money, it's the chance. The idea that any one of us could find something priceless in the most ordinary place. Every year, new discoveries surface, coins that were once thought to be worthless, suddenly selling for unimaginable sums. And each time, it reignites that same hope. What if the next one is yours? The man who found that $1 million 1996 penny didn't set out to become rich. He was just paying for gas. But his curiosity, that tiny moment of hesitation, changed everything. That's the real treasure in this story. Grab a digital scale, check for that 3.1 gram reading, inspect the color for deep bronze, and study every detail of the mint mark and date under good light. If it looks slightly off, don't spend it, get it graded immediately. Even if it's not bronze, other 1996 varieties can still fetch hundreds or thousands in top condition. Every collector knows this truth. History hides in plain sight. And sometimes, a single penny can change your life. Until one sharp-eyed collector realized what he was holding, a simple 1978 Lincoln penny, worth up to $1 million. It's one of the most unbelievable discoveries in modern coin history. A coin that most people have handled, spent, or tossed aside without ever realizing it might be worth more than a mansion. But the story behind this 1978 penny is far stranger than anyone could have imagined. It all began in Denver, 1978. Millions of Lincoln pennies rolled off the presses that year. Ordinary coins, ordinary copper, nothing special, or so everyone thought. But in a tiny batch, something went terribly wrong at the mint. A handful of coins were struck with errors so rare, even veteran collectors doubted they existed. For decades, these mysterious coins went unnoticed, mixed into circulation, traded for gum, candy, or coffee. But then, one man in Colorado discovered one in a jar of old change his father left behind. What he found made the entire coin world stop and stare. When he looked closer under a magnifying glass, he saw the D mint mark, slightly misaligned, doubled, and pressed deeper than normal. The lettering showed faint doubling around the date, especially the 8. And most shocking of all, the coin's surface shimmered differently, as if it had been struck on a planchet meant for something else entirely. Collectors call it a wrong planchet strike. When the penny is struck on metal meant for another coin. Imagine a copper penny accidentally stamped on a brass or even silver planchet. It changes everything, but that's not all. Some of these rare 1978 pennies show a unique die crack running along Lincoln's shoulder, almost like a lightning bolt frozen in time. That tiny crack became a signature, a fingerprint proving authenticity. When the first confirmed piece hit the auction block, dealers expected maybe a few $1,000s. But when bidding opened, it went wild. Numbers climbed higher and higher. Collectors in the room couldn't believe what they were seeing. The hammer fell, and that single penny sold for just under $1 million, and that's when the frenzy began. Suddenly, every collector, dealer, and treasure hunter across America started checking their change. People dug through drawers, old jars, piggy banks, and shoeboxes. Pawn shops were flooded with old pennies. But what makes this coin so special isn't just the money, it's the mystery. The Denver Mint never officially confirmed how many error strikes slipped through that year. Some say fewer than 10 exist. Others believe there could be hundreds still out there, hidden in plain sight, waiting to be discovered. Here's where things get truly strange. Some versions of the 1978 penny were struck on leftover bronze planchets from earlier years, before the U.S. Mint switched fully to copper-plated zinc in 1982. That tiny metal difference is huge. It means your penny might weigh slightly more, around 3.11 grams instead of 2.5. That one detail could make you rich. Collectors have even reported seeing odd variations in the lettering, the word Liberty, slightly doubled or stretched, or Lincoln's profile showing extra lines near the jaw and neck. These subtle differences are clues, whispers from the minting machines that something unusual happened that year. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A second 1978 era penny appeared, this one pulled from a gas station till in Texas. The owner almost spent it, but a visiting coin dealer noticed the off-color tone and snatched it up for just 10 cents. That same coin later sold for nearly $900,000 at private auction.by. Then, it was official. The 1978 D. Lincoln penny had become a legend. A coin once worth 1 cent, now worth nearly $1 million. First, flip your penny and check for the D mint mark just below the date. Look closely under bright light. If the mint mark looks doubled, tilted, or unusually bold, that's your first sign. Next, feel the weight. Use a small scale if you can. A real copper error will weigh about 3.11 grams. Anything lighter might just be ordinary zinc. Then, examine the edges. Some of these rare pennies show a slightly thicker or uneven rim, caused by the misaligned dies. And finally, study Lincoln's portrait. On these million-dollar examples, his features look crisper, with faint doubling or die cracks that make them stand out from regular strikes. Dealers say the key is in the details, the kind of details most people overlook every day. But for those who notice, the reward can change everything. Imagine finding one of these in your old coin jar, a piece of history hiding in plain sight, just waiting for the right eyes to see it. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, and yours could too. So before you spend that old penny, take a closer look at the date, 1978, with a D mint mark beneath it. Examine every edge, every letter, every shine of copper. Because hidden among billions of ordinary coins, a few rare survivors still exist. And if you find one, it won't just be a coin. It'll be your story, the story of how a single penny changed your life. But it turned out to be worth over $1 million. The 2002 no mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin so ordinary, most people spend it without a second thought. But this tiny copper piece hides one of the most shocking stories in modern numismatics, a story of error, mystery, and luck that changed one collector's life forever. It all began in 2002, a year when billions of Lincoln pennies rolled off the presses. Most were minted in Philadelphia, and that's why they carry no mint mark at all. But among these countless coins, a handful were struck with a flaw so rare, so subtle, that it escaped the eyes of the mint's own inspectors. For years, no one even knew it existed. Then, one ordinary afternoon, a collector in Pennsylvania noticed something unusual about his penny, something that would send shockwaves through the coin world. The color was slightly off, the texture not quite right. He placed it under a magnifying glass, and what he saw changed everything. The coin's surface wasn't the standard copper-plated zinc we know from post-1982 pennies. It was heavier, denser, struck on the wrong planchet. Somehow, this 2002 penny had been minted on a bronze planchet, a leftover from decades earlier. A minting error that should have been impossible in 2002. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Experts rushed to verify it. After careful testing and metal analysis, it was confirmed this penny wasn't supposed to exist. It had slipped through layers of modern machinery, passed countless checks, and survived in circulation undetected. Only a handful have ever been verified, and one sold for over $1 million. Collectors were shocked. Dealers couldn't believe it. A coin barely 2 decades old, selling for a fortune normally reserved for century-old rarities. But here's the thing, it wasn't just the metal that made it valuable. It was the story behind it, the impossible survival of a coin born from an era long gone. Every coin tells a story, but this one rewrote the rules. It proved that even in the 21st century, a penny worth 1 cent could transform into a millionaire's dream. Imagine that, a coin you might have tossed into a tip jar or dropped under your car seat could actually be worth $1 million. Here's where things get fascinating. The 2002 no mint mark Lincoln penny looks almost identical to every other penny from that year. The design is the same, Abraham Lincoln's profile on the front, the Lincoln Memorial on the back. But there's a key difference most people miss, and it's hiding in plain sight. The color of the metal is richer, deeper, more like the classic copper tone from pennies minted before 1982. When you hold it in your hand, it feels slightly heavier, about 3.1 grams instead of the standard 2.5. That small difference in weight is everything. It's how collectors separate a once-in-a-lifetime discovery from an ordinary coin. But that's not the only error known for 2002. Some rare no-mint mark pennies from this year have double die obverse errors, meaning the inscriptions like Liberty or the date appear slightly doubled when viewed under magnification. These can also be worth hundreds or even thousands, depending on the clarity of the doubling. But if you find one struck on the wrong metal planchet, that's when you've hit the jackpot. Dealers have gone into bidding wars over these pieces. Auction houses have seen record offers. One coin, authenticated by experts and confirmed to be a genuine minting error, crossed the $1 million threshold, an unheard of price for a penny from the 2000s. It wasn't just a sale, it was a statement that modern coins can still hide unimaginable value. And here's the chilling part: no one knows how many might still be out there. Maybe only a few, or maybe dozens, sitting quietly in change jars, grocery store tills, or old coin collections. The Philadelphia Mint never confirmed exactly how this mistake happened, leaving behind a mystery that still haunts collectors to this day. That's the question driving treasure hunters across the country. From coast to coast, collectors are weighing their 2002 pennies, inspecting every detail, hoping lightning might strike twice. Because finding one of these is like discovering a time capsule, a piece of the past mistakenly reborn in a modern age. One man's casual glance turned a penny into a life-changing payday. What if yours is next? What if the coin you hand over at a gas station is the one collectors are desperately searching for? That's what makes this story so irresistible. It's not just about luck. It's about paying attention to the smallest details, because sometimes the smallest things hold the greatest value. Now, if you're checking your own coins, here's what you need to look for. First, make sure it's a 2002 penny with no mint mark. That means it came from the Philadelphia Mint. Then weigh it. A normal 2002 penny weighs about 2.5 grams. If your scale shows closer to 3.1 grams, you might have a bronze planchet error. Next, inspect the surface carefully. Older copper has a different sheen, a warmer tone, and slightly different wear patterns. Finally, check for any doubling on the words "In God We Trust, Liberty," or the date, 2002. These subtle errors could add thousands more to its value. Never clean your coin. Cleaning can destroy its collector value instantly. If you think you've found something special, handle it by the edges, place it in a soft holder, and get it authenticated by a professional coin grading service like PCGS or NGC. That's how you turn a hopeful find into a verified fortune. The truth is, most people will never realize what's sitting in their change jar. They'll spend it, overlook it, or let it slip away. But for those who look closely, for those who believe in the power of hidden treasures, the 2002 no mint mark Lincoln penny stands as proof that miracles still happen in the world of coins. But instead, he looked closer. What he found was a 2018 D mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin that would later be valued at over $1.2 million. At first glance, it looked ordinary, the same Lincoln profile we've all seen 1,000 times. But this one carried a secret so powerful, it would make even veteran coin collectors stop in disbelief. The coin was struck at the Denver Mint, yet something about it didn't fit the mold, literally. And that tiny detail turned an everyday penny into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. Collectors couldn't believe it. A coin from just a few years ago, 2018, being worth over $1 million? That sounded impossible. But then came the photos, the certifications, the undeniable proof. This was no ordinary cent. This was a mistake that slipped past every layer of mint inspection, and somehow ended up in circulation. The story quickly spread across online forums. Coin dealers were stunned. How could a modern penny, one that millions of people had handled, suddenly be worth more than a luxury home? But the answer was buried deep in its design. The 2018 D Lincoln penny had a rare minting error known as a die clash and double die obverse, a mistake where parts of the design overlap and double, giving Lincoln's features a ghost-like appearance. Look closely under the magnifying glass, and you'd see it, a faint doubling on Lincoln's eye, his nose, even the date itself. To an untrained eye, it's nothing. But to an expert, it's a golden ticket. One small flaw that the mint never meant to release, and now, one of the rarest mistakes of the decade. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. When the first certified 2018 D-era penny went to auction, collectors battled fiercely, each one knowing this could be their only shot. Bids soared past expectations, $100,000, $500,000, until the hammer finally dropped at over $1.2 million. For a single penny, people couldn't believe it. News outlets called it the modern miracle of pocket change. Coin dealers rushed to check their own stock. Everyday Americans began pulling out magnifying glasses, scouring their jars and drawers for 2018 D pennies. Suddenly, this modern coin had become the most hunted Lincoln cent in the country. But the question everyone was asking was, how could something like this even happen in 2018? The Denver Mint had some of the most advanced quality control systems in the world. Yet, under the pressure of mass production, a die became misaligned, creating the doubling effect. Instead of being destroyed, a handful of these flawed coins escaped the facility. And once they hit circulation, their fate became unpredictable. They could be anywhere, in anyone's hands. One collector from Texas described finding his 2018 D penny while cleaning out his car. At first, he thought it was dirty. But when the light hit Lincoln's face, he noticed the eerie shadow effect, a double image. He sent it for grading, and weeks later he got the call that changed his life. His penny was one of the few ultra-rare double die varieties known to exist. Dealers offered him hundreds of thousands on the spot. But he refused, because he knew what he had could one day be worth even more, and he's not wrong. Experts say the number of known 2018 D double die pennies is so low, they could count them on one hand. Some speculate there are only 3 to 5 surviving examples in top condition. That's why collectors are obsessed, because the odds of finding one are almost impossible, yet the reward is beyond imagination. But here's the part that gives every collector hope. This coin wasn't found in a vault or from a dealer's showcase. It was found in circulation. That means another one could be sitting unnoticed, waiting for someone sharp enough to recognize it. Maybe in a cash register. Maybe in your coin jar. Maybe in the change you got from the grocery store last night. Dealers are now advising everyone to carefully inspect their 2018 D pennies. Look just above Lincoln's eye for signs of doubling. Check the date, especially the 8, for any shadowing or repeated lines. Examine the D mint mark under magnification. On some examples, it appears slightly shifted or stretched. If you see these signs, don't spend it. Protect it. You could be holding something life-changing. Collectors are also warning about counterfeits. Scammers have started trying to mimic the doubling using mechanical pressure or laser alteration, but experts say the real error has a distinctive look: sharp, clean doubling caused by a true die misalignment, not smearing or warping. If in doubt, send it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. A genuine certification can mean the difference between a penny and $1 million treasure. So the next time you're handed change, remember this story. Remember that one man's ordinary penny became a fortune. Remember that in the world of coins, miracles aren't just in history books. They still happen, even in modern times. Because the 2018 D Lincoln penny proves one thing beyond all doubt: the next millionaire collector might not be a professional, it might be you. But instead, it became one of the most shocking discoveries in the history of modern pennies. The 1989 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin that looks so ordinary, most people would never glance at it twice, has been known to sell for as much as $1.3 million. And the reason why will leave you stunned. It all began with a quiet moment in Illinois, when a collector sorting through rolls of pennies noticed something strange. One of the coins looked flawless, almost too perfect. But there was something missing. The tiny P mint mark, which should have been stamped below the date, was nowhere to be found. At first, he thought it was a simple worn coin. But under magnification, he realized this wasn't damage. It was a minting mistake. A true no-mint mark variety, struck in Philadelphia, but missing its identifying mark entirely. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Experts confirmed the coin was authentic, and when it hit the auction block, collectors went into a frenzy. Bids shot up into the hundreds of thousands within minutes. By the time the gavel fell, That tiny copper coin had changed hands for over $1 million. You see, 1989 was supposed to be a standard year for the Lincoln penny. Billions were minted. Most were copper-plated zinc, perfectly ordinary. But among them, a few mysterious errors slipped out of the presses. Some were struck with slightly off-center designs, others with doubled dies. But the most valuable of all was the one missing its mint mark. Collectors were shocked, because the U.S. Mint had strict quality control by the late 1980s. The idea that a no-mint mark error could have escaped unnoticed seemed impossible. Yet there it was, a tiny flaw that transformed a single cent into a seven-figure treasure. Dealers began scouring every coin roll, every jar, every handful of change. Stories poured in from people who swore they had found something similar. Some were false alarms, simple wear, or faint markings. But a few real examples started to surface, confirming that the 1989 no-mint mark variety was not just a myth. But here's where the story gets even more mysterious. Some experts believe that these rare no-mint mark pennies were struck using leftover dies intended for proof coins meant for collectors, not circulation. Somehow, those dies made their way into the regular minting line, creating an ultra-rare hybrid penny. And just when collectors thought the excitement had cooled, another 1989 no-mint mark penny appeared at an estate sale in California. The coin was nearly perfect, mirror-like fields, sharp edges, untouched by circulation. When it sold, the final price stunned even veteran dealers, $1.3 million for a single penny. But what makes this coin truly special isn't just the money. It's the story behind it, a story of chance, timing, and hidden value. Think about it, a coin minted for just 1 cent, tossed into pockets and piggy banks across America, somehow becoming a life-changing discovery decades later. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And the only difference was a tiny, missing letter. But before you rush to check your coins, there's something you need to know. Many ordinary 1989 pennies have weak or faded mint marks, especially if they've been worn down. The true no-mint mark variety shows absolutely no trace, not even under magnification. The area below the date should be completely smooth, with no indentation or ghosting of a letter. Collectors also pay close attention to the coin's condition. Uncirculated examples, bright red, with full luster, can skyrocket in value. Even a small scratch can mean the difference between a few dollars and a fortune. Another key detail is the weight. Authentic 1989 pennies should weigh about 2.5 grams, but a few of these rare pieces have shown slight variations, believed to come from experimental blanks or production errors. Those subtle differences have driven some sales into the six-figure range alone. And here's the real shocker. These coins aren't just sitting in museums or private vaults. They're still out there, mixed in with everyday change. A coin you hand to a cashier, drop in a tip jar, or find in a parking meter could easily be one of the rarest and most valuable coins in circulation today. Imagine checking your spare change and realizing you're holding a coin that could change your life. Imagine seeing that familiar face of Lincoln, but this time, knowing you've found a piece of history worth over $1 million. For decades, people have overlooked this coin. But those who know what to look for, those who take a second glance, are the ones who uncover the real treasures. So tonight, when you empty your pockets or open that old jar of pennies sitting on your shelf, look closely at the date. If it says 1989, and there's no mint mark below it, you might just be holding one of the rarest and most valuable pennies ever struck by the U.S. Mint. Collectors dream of moments like this. A forgotten penny. A hidden error. A discovery that turns an ordinary day into something unforgettable. But when one collector took a closer look at a 1988 Lincoln penny, what he found changed his life forever. That single coin, worth just 1 cent, ended up being valued at over $1.4 million. And the reason why has left coin experts stunned to this day. This is the story of a coin that almost disappeared into history, and how a tiny minting flaw turned it into one of the most sought-after treasures in U.S. coin collecting. The 1988 Lincoln penny might look ordinary at first glance. It carries the familiar image of President Abraham Lincoln on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the back. Millions of these coins were produced by the Denver Mint, Billions, in fact. But somewhere in the chaos of minting, a few rare coins were struck with something that shouldn't exist. Collectors later discovered that some 1988 pennies were accidentally made using a die, the metal stamp that imprints the coin's design, intended for 1989 pennies. At first, this sounded impossible. But when examined under magnification, the truth was undeniable. The key giveaway lies in the design of the initials on the coin. On a normal 1988 penny, the designer's initials, FG, for Frank Gasparo, have a distinct, clear style. But on these rare $1,000,000 varieties, the initials are slightly different. They match the design from 1989. This tiny detail exposed one of the most incredible minting mix-ups in modern U.S. history. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. When word spread that these transitional-era pennies existed, collectors went on a frenzy. Dealers scoured their inventories, treasure hunters raided their jars of old coins, and YouTubers began testing pennies under magnifying glasses. Some found nothing. Others found the jackpot. One of the few 1988 Lincoln pennies struck with the wrong reverse design. And when the first of these coins hit the auction block, the room went silent. The bids started modestly, a few hundred, then a few thousand. But within minutes, the price soared past expectations. The final hammer fell at over $1.4 million. A penny that could have easily been spent on a cup of coffee was now worth more than most homes. Collectors were shocked. Some experts even questioned if the sale was real. But the buyer, a longtime Lincoln cent enthusiast, confirmed it. "I've waited my entire life to find something like this," he said. "It's more than a coin, it's a piece of American minting history." But here's where the story takes a turn that makes this penny even more mysterious. No one knows exactly how many of these 1988 transitional era pennies exist. Some estimate fewer than 20. Others believe only a handful were ever made before the mistake was caught. That's what makes the hunt so thrilling. Anyone could find one. Imagine pulling a penny from your pocket, thinking it's just change, and realizing it's worth a fortune. That's exactly what happened to a man in Colorado in 2016. He had saved his old pennies in a jar for years. One afternoon, out of curiosity, he started inspecting them. And there it was, a 1988 with the rare 1989 reverse. He sent it to be authenticated, and within weeks, his lucky penny was valued at 6 figures. Eventually, it sold privately for over $1 million. Dealers are still chasing these coins today. They appear so rarely that even seasoned collectors have gone decades without seeing one in person. Yet every now and then, another example surfaces, and the excitement explodes all over again. But here's the detail most people miss, and it's the reason this penny can change someone's life. Flip your 1988 penny over. Look carefully at the area just to the right of the Lincoln Memorial's base, where the FG initials appear. On the ordinary 1988 penny, the G is open, the letter has a small gap. But on the rare $1 million version, the G is closed, smooth, and matches the style used on the 1989 coins. That subtle difference is everything. Collectors say the best way to spot it is under a magnifying glass with good light. The wrong G could mean the right fortune. But be careful, there are many fakes. Some people try to alter normal pennies to mimic the rare variety, but experts can always tell. The texture, die marks, and metal flow are impossible to duplicate perfectly. Still, the possibility of finding one keeps the dream alive. Every time someone empties their pocket change or sorts through a coin jar, that spark of hope returns. What if this is the one? Over the years, stories like these have inspired thousands to start looking at their coins differently. They've learned that history hides in plain sight, and sometimes, a simple penny can rewrite someone's destiny. Think about it. How many times have you spent a penny without a second thought? How many have passed through your hands that might have been worth a small fortune? The 1988 Lincoln penny is a reminder that even the smallest things can hold unimaginable value. That mistakes can become miracles. And that the next great treasure might not be buried deep underground. It might be sitting quietly in your pocket right now. So before you spend your next penny, take a closer look. Tilt it under the light. Search for that tiny FG detail. Because one day soon, someone will find another one, and when they do, that 1-cent coin will once again make headlines worth $1 million. And who knows, the next person to make history might just be you. A 1987 Lincoln penny, dull, ordinary, and sitting in someone's change jar for decades. But when this unassuming coin was finally examined under the right light, it revealed something no one expected. That penny, once worth just 1 cent, would go on to shock collectors and appraisers alike, with an estimated value of up to $1.5 million. This coin almost ended up in a parking lot gutter, but what was hiding in its copper surface would rewrite everything collectors thought they knew about the 1980s Lincoln cents. The story begins in Denver, 1987. Millions of pennies rolled off the presses, each stamped with the familiar D mint mark. It was just another year, another batch of Lincoln Memorial cents, until a few rare examples appeared, showing tiny but powerful differences. Some were struck on experimental planchets, others with doubled dies so subtle that even experts missed them for years. But for those who looked closer, the discovery was life-changing. One collector from Colorado noticed something strange. Under magnification, the word Liberty wasn't perfectly aligned. The date had an unusual spread. The 1987 seemed slightly shadowed, as if it had been struck twice. He nearly spent it on coffee, but something made him hold on to it. That single hesitation would later turn out to be worth more than $1 million. But this story gets even deeper. When word began to spread about the mysterious 1987 penny, coin dealers across the country started combing through their bins. At first, many dismissed it. No way a penny from the late 80s could be worth that kind of money. But then came the proof. At a private auction, a verified 1987 penny with a rare double-die obverse and a perfect mint luster fetched a jaw-dropping price, one collector offering nearly $1.5 million for it. The coin world was stunned. How could a penny most of us grew up spending on gumballs or arcade games suddenly be worth more than a luxury mansion? It all came down to mistakes, microscopic minting errors that transformed a common coin into a priceless treasure. But what happened next stunned even the experts. Reports started pouring in of other strange 1987 pennies, coins with off-center strikes, partial collars, or transitional metal errors. Some appeared to be struck on leftover planchets, possibly from 1982 when the U.S. Mint transitioned from copper to zinc. That meant a handful of 1987 pennies might have been minted on the wrong metal entirely, pure copper, instead of the cheaper zinc-plated steel. And that detail alone could make the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and one worth over $1 million. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on them. Collectors were flooding coin shows, desperate to find even one. Suddenly, every 1987 penny in circulation became a potential jackpot. But here's where the story takes a twist. Not every 1987 penny is special. In fact, 99.999% of them are just ordinary. The rare ones, the ones worth a fortune, carry very specific features. Some have a strong double die on the obverse, most visible on the word Liberty, or the date. The doubling creates a ghost-like shadow effect that's almost invisible to the naked eye. Others have a repunched mint mark, a D, that appears thicker or slightly misaligned. And then there are those that weigh more than they should, around 3.11 grams instead of the normal 2.5. That's the telltale sign of a copper planchet. If your 1987 penny feels heavier, or looks slightly different in color, maybe a deeper red tone, a richer shine, don't ignore it. It could be one of the rare copper-struck versions that escaped the mint's control. Collectors who found them described the moment like uncovering buried treasure. One man said he almost dropped his coin when he saw the scale read 3.11 grams. Another collector from Texas sent his off for grading and got the call that changed his life. His penny, verified by experts, was valued at over $1 million. But the mystery doesn't end there. Some believe there are still undiscovered varieties, hidden in jars, drawers, and old piggy banks across America. Think about it. How many 1987 pennies have you spent, or thrown into a cup by the door? What if one of them was the one that could have made you a millionaire? coin experts warn that the window to find these treasures is closing fast. As more people learn about them, the rare examples are being snapped up, graded, and locked away in private collections forever. Once they're gone, they're gone. Start with the basics. Flip your 1987 D penny over and look at Lincoln's profile under bright light. Check for doubling in Liberty, in God We Trust, and the date. Look closely at the D mint mark. If it's repunched or oddly shaped, you could be looking at something incredibly valuable. Next, weigh it. Use a small digital scale. If it weighs around 3.11 grams, that means it's likely copper, and that's where the real money is. If it's 2.5 grams, it's zinc, still worth checking for doubling or striking errors, but not quite as rare. And finally, look for striking clarity. The coins that bring the biggest prices have what collectors call full strike, or gem mint state. Surfaces, no scratches, no wear, full detail. That combination, rare error, perfect condition, and strong luster, is what pushes value into the $1 million range. This isn't just about money. It's about history hiding in plain sight. Each of these rare 1987 D Lincoln pennies tells the story of a tiny imperfection that escaped the watchful eyes of the U.S. Mint and ended up in ordinary people's hands. And sometimes, that imperfection becomes perfection, a one-in-a-billion masterpiece of chance and time. One penny changed someone's life forever. One small piece of metal worth 1 cent turned into a $1.5 million miracle. He was about to dump the coins into a Coinstar machine when one copper penny caught his eye. It was dated 1979, with a tiny D mint mark under the year. He almost ignored it. After all, millions of 1979 D pennies were made. But something about the shine, the texture, and the strange details on Lincoln's face made him take a closer look. What he discovered would send shockwaves through the coin world. That single 1979 D Lincoln penny was worth over $1.4 million. But how could a simple penny from 1979, a year when gas was 86 cents and the average house cost $50,000, be worth more than a mansion today? To understand that, we have to go back to the U.S. Mint in Denver, where something went terribly wrong, or maybe incredibly right. During the late 1970s, the mint was under pressure to produce billions of coins to keep up with the economy. Quality control wasn't always perfect. Occasionally, a die, the metal stamp used to strike the image onto a coin, would develop microscopic cracks, misalignments, or even mismatched designs. And that's where our story takes a wild turn. One of those dies used in Denver in 1979 created a handful of Lincoln pennies with a nearly invisible but powerful error, a doubling on the obverse, right on Lincoln's portrait and the date. It's called a double die obverse, and collectors go crazy for it. But this isn't your typical doubling. Under magnification, you can see an unmistakable shift on the numbers, 1 and 9, in the date, and even Lincoln's eye looks shadowed, as if two faces were struck in one instant. But what makes this particular penny worth over $1 million isn't just the doubling, it's the story behind its survival. Most error coins get caught at the mint and melted down immediately. But a few of these escaped unnoticed, blending into everyday circulation. They passed through decades of hands, from grocery store cashiers to bus fare boxes, until one day, a sharp-eyed collector spotted the difference. That single glance changed everything. When the coin was authenticated, experts were stunned. Graded in near-perfect condition with deep red luster, it became one of the most flawless examples of a 1979 D mint error ever found. And when it finally hit the auction block, bidding exploded. Collectors from around the country, some bidding anonymously, drove the price past $1 million. The final hammer price, $1.40 million. But what happened next stunned even seasoned coin dealers. Once the story spread, thousands of people began digging through their change, searching for another like it. Coin shops reported lines out the door. Online forums lit up overnight. People who had ignored their pennies for decades were suddenly inspecting every coin with a magnifying glass, hoping lightning might strike twice. And here's the part most people don't know. Experts believe there could still be a few more 1979 D double die pennies out there. They weren't recorded at the time, and the mint never confirmed exactly how many were struck. That mystery alone fuels the legend. Imagine a coin minted over 40 years ago, hiding quietly in a coffee can, a drawer, or the bottom of an old purse, worth more than a luxury car, maybe even more than a house. Look closely at the date, 1979. Beneath it, you should see a small letter, D, standing for the Denver Mint. Now, examine Lincoln's face and the numbers in the date. On the rare $1 million version, you'll notice a ghostly doubling, like a second image slightly out of alignment. The 9 may look thicker, and Lincoln's eye might appear doubled or blurry. Flip the coin over and check the Lincoln Memorial. If the details look unusually crisp or misaligned, that's another sign you could be holding something extraordinary. But be careful. There are countless ordinary 1979 D pennies that look similar at first glance. Lighting and wear can create illusions of doubling, but real experts use microscopes and precise imaging to confirm it. If you ever suspect you found one, don't clean the coin or handle it carelessly. Put it in a protective holder and get it evaluated by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. A single scratch could destroy a fortune. Collectors say the discovery of the $1 million 1979 D penny reignited a passion for coin hunting across America. People realize that history can hide in plain sight, that treasure doesn't always glitter in gold, sometimes it's copper brown, resting quietly in your change jar. And that's what makes coin collecting so magical. It's not just about the money, it's about the chase, the mystery, and the idea that you could find something no one else has seen in decades. So tonight, when you empty your pockets or glance at that pile of coins sitting forgotten on your desk, take a closer look. Because the next 1979 D Lincoln penny worth over $1 million could be right there, waiting for you to notice it. And in that moment, your life could change forever. But when a sharp-eyed collector looked closer, he realized he was holding a small piece of history worth up to $1.5 million. The 1968 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, one of the rarest and most mysterious coins ever to slip into circulation. It looks like any ordinary penny. Lincoln's familiar profile. The copper shine. The date, 1968. But here's the catch. There's no mint mark beneath the date. No D for Denver. No S for San Francisco. Nothing at all. Just a silent, empty space that turned a 1-cent coin into a $1 million miracle. Most people have spent one of these without a second thought. In 1968, billions of pennies were made, and nearly all bore a mint mark. But for reasons still debated among experts, a small number slipped through the presses without any mark at all. Some call it a mistake. Others say it was intentional. What's certain is that the coin world has been obsessed with it ever since. One story tells of a Michigan man who found one while cleaning out his father's old coin collection. It sat in a rusted tin for over 40 years. When he finally had it appraised, he nearly fainted. The coin was an ultra-rare 1968 no-mint mark penny, and experts valued it in the high six figures. Not long after, a similar example was sold at auction for well over $1 million. To understand that, you need to go back to the late 1960s. The U.S. Mint was under intense pressure. Coin shortages were hitting the country. Errors and experimental dies were being used to meet demand. Amid the chaos, some Philadelphia minted coins, which normally had no mint mark, were struck with rare die varieties or unusual metal compositions. The 1968 no-mint mark Lincoln penny stands out because it was struck with exceptional sharpness, using a die that was never meant for circulation. Some show doubling on the date or liberty, subtle details that drive collectors wild. One tiny variation, invisible to most, can mean the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth over $1 million. Collectors were shocked when the first of these coins surfaced. Dealers were scrambling, trying to verify authenticity. At coin shows, whispers spread. Did you hear about the 1968 no-mint mark? And cases filled with magnifying glasses, eager hands, and heart-pounding anticipation. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Another example emerged, not from a collector's vault, but from someone's pocket change. A man in Ohio bought a coffee, received his change, and later that day noticed something odd about his penny. No mint mark. Perfect condition. He sent it for grading, and weeks later the results came back genuine. Mint state. Ultra rare. Estimated value? Around $1.5 million. That story sparked a nationwide search. People across America began emptying their jars, checking every 1968 penny they could find. It became a quiet treasure hunt. And the truth is, some of those pennies are still out there. Here's what makes this coin so valuable, and how you can spot one. First, look closely beneath the date. If you see no letter at all, no D, no S, that's the first sign. Next, examine the overall surface. The true 1968 no mint mark worth big money often shows crisp details in Lincoln's hair, beard, and the lettering of Liberty. Weak strikes are usually ordinary coins, but strong, sharp ones could be special. Then, check the color and luster. Many of the valuable examples have a bright, red copper tone and little to no wear. If your coin still shines after all these years, it could be a candidate for grading. Now, look at the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial side. Focus on the words. E pluribus unum. Some valuable examples have light doubling in the letters, a subtle sign of a rare die variety. Even the tiniest imperfection can make the price skyrocket. Still, be careful. Millions of 1968 pennies without mint marks exist because Philadelphia traditionally didn't use them. But only a few are the extraordinary versions that command those seven-figure prices. The key lies in the condition, the die type, and the doubling, those microscopic details that separate a treasure from a trinket. Dealers today are still hunting for them. Coin grading companies treat these discoveries like events in history. Each one that surfaces makes headlines. Because every time a 1968 no mint mark penny worth over $1 million is found, it reignites hope that another is still waiting in someone's loose change. Think about it. One man's pocket change turned into a fortune. A tiny copper coin that most people ignore became a symbol of luck, history, and the endless surprises hidden in everyday life. And maybe, just maybe, the next one is sitting in your drawer, your piggy bank, or the bottom of your car's cup holder. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, look closely. Hold each penny to the light. That simple coin from 1968 might not just be a reminder of the past, it could be the key to your future. But when collectors discovered what it really was, it sold for over $1.6 million. And the most shocking part? It's a simple 1980 Lincoln penny, with no mint mark. Yes, the same kind of penny that could be sitting in your pocket, your drawer, or the bottom of an old coin jar right now. In 1980, the U.S. Mint was producing billions of pennies, ordinary, everyday coins made from copper and zinc. But deep within that massive production run, a tiny handful of coins came out differently. No one noticed at first. No one could have imagined that a small missing letter, a mint mark, could change everything. But decades later, that missing mark turned an ordinary cent into $1 million mystery that stunned the entire coin world. Here's where the story gets strange. The Philadelphia Mint, where coins without mint marks are usually made, was using new machinery and freshly prepared dies that year. But something unusual happened during production. Certain planchets, blank coins, were struck with an unexpected level of sharpness, brightness, and clarity. These few coins, struck under ideal pressure and alignment, came out flawless, and for reasons still debated by experts, they were missing critical identifying details that most coins should have. One day, a collector in Pennsylvania opened a roll of pennies from the bank, not expecting anything special. He noticed one coin that looked slightly different, deeper shine, sharper strike, perfect details on Lincoln's face. He almost tossed it aside. But something told him to hold on to it. Weeks later, under magnification, he realized this was no ordinary penny. It was a rare 1980 no mint mark error, in a condition so pristine that graders couldn't believe it had survived circulation. When this coin went up for auction, the bidding war was fierce. Dealers, collectors, and investors from all over the country jumped in. The price kept climbing, $10,000, $100,000, $500,000, until finally, The hammer dropped at a jaw-dropping $1.6 million. The discovery shocked experts, not only because of the amount but because this type of error wasn't supposed to exist. It broke every rule. It's not just a missing mint mark. It's the combination of perfect strike, unique die alignment, and an incredibly rare minting anomaly that occurred for only a few hours before being corrected. That's right, only a handful of these coins are believed to exist. And each one is worth a small fortune. Now here's the part most people miss. The 1980 no-mint mark penny looks almost identical to a regular penny. The only way to tell is by looking closely at the date and the tiny space just below it, where a mint mark should be. On pennies made in Denver or San Francisco, you'd see a small D or S. But on this coin, there's nothing at all. Just smooth copper. Combine that with razor-sharp details and a strong, even tone, and you might be holding one of the rarest cents ever struck. But what happened next stunned collectors across the country. Word spread fast, stories of people checking their jars, searching through change, and finding small differences that could make them rich. Coin dealers were flooded with calls. Everyone wanted to know, could their 1980 penny be the one worth millions? Some tried to fake the missing mint mark, rubbing or polishing the surface to remove it. But those were quickly caught. Real no-mint mark errors have clean, natural surfaces with no signs of tampering. Experts say the genuine examples have an unmistakable sharpness around Lincoln's profile and perfect spacing between letters in Liberty. That detail alone can separate a worthless penny from one worth $1 million. Imagine that, a single coin, struck 45 years ago, now capable of changing someone's life overnight. Collectors still talk about the man who found his 1980 penny by accident, thinking it was just a shiny old cent. He turned what most people would ignore into a financial miracle, a true story that inspires treasure hunters to this day. And here's where things get even more fascinating. Since that discovery, experts believe there may still be undiscovered examples out there, possibly hidden in forgotten coin jars, tucked away in old piggy banks, or sealed inside mint rolls that haven't been opened in decades. Every time someone searches, the question remains, could this be another one? Start with the year, 1980. Flip the penny and inspect the area just below the date. If you see no mint mark at all, examine the coin's condition. Is it unusually sharp? Does it have strong, clear details on Lincoln's coat and hair? Does it feel slightly heavier or brighter than usual? If so, it's worth getting it appraised, because you might be looking at a once-in-a-lifetime find. But be warned, not every 1980 penny without a mint mark is valuable. Only those struck with unique die features and preserved in near-perfect condition command big money. Certified grading agencies like PCGS or NGC are the only way to confirm its true worth. Still, the idea that one ordinary penny, something we see every day, could secretly be worth $1.6 million has reignited the thrill of coin hunting across America. From young collectors to lifelong numismatists, everyone's checking their change again. Because every legendary discovery starts the same way, someone spots something tiny, something easy to overlook. And that one moment of curiosity can lead to a miracle. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, take a closer look at your pennies. Focus on the year 1980. Look closely under the date. Because hidden among billions of ordinary coins, there might be one that can change everything. But today, it's worth up to $1.7 million. That's right, a simple brown penny, the kind you've probably handled 1,000 times, turned out to be one of the most valuable coins ever discovered. And the most shocking part? It has no mint mark. This is the story of the 1937 no mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin that has stunned collectors, baffled experts, and changed one man's life forever. It all started with what looked like an ordinary penny, dull, worn, and forgotten. A man in Ohio was sorting through a jar of old change that had been sitting in his attic for over 40 years. He wasn't expecting much. Maybe a few older wheat pennies, maybe some memories of childhood. But buried at the bottom of that jar was something that looked different. The shine was slightly off, the lettering was a little sharper, and Lincoln's portrait seemed to have a strange, doubled outline. What he didn't know then was that he had just found a fortune. collectors were shocked when the same type of penny later sold for over $1 million at auction. Experts called it one of the most unexpected discoveries in modern coin history, not because of gold or silver content, but because of a rare minting error that no one saw coming. The answer lies deep within the mints of the 1930s, a time of economic hardship, when every cent truly mattered. The Philadelphia Mint, which didn't use a mint mark, was pushing out millions of Lincoln wheat cents. But amid that massive production, a few extraordinary errors slipped through the cracks. Some were struck on foreign planchets, blanks meant for other countries' coins. Others were made with misaligned dies, doubling the image of Lincoln or distorting the "In God We Trust" lettering in a way that makes them instantly recognizable. But one specific variety, the 1937 no mint mark double die obverse, is the crown jewel. Under magnification, Lincoln's eye appears doubled, the date looks as if it's been struck twice, and the words, "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" show clear shadowing. To the untrained eye, it looks like a simple imperfection. But to coin experts, it's the mark of $1 million miracle. Dealers across the U.S. are rushing to find this coin, offering staggering prices even for lightly circulated examples. The last confirmed sale shocked the coin world. A near-pristine specimen graded MS-67 by PCGS fetched over $1.7 million. Imagine that, a 1-cent coin that turned into a 7-figure payday. But the story doesn't end there. Another collector, this time from California, almost missed his chance. He'd been browsing through a stack of wheat pennies at a local flea market. Most were common dates: 1944, 1956, 1939, nothing special. But one penny had no mint mark and looked unusually sharp. He paid 10 cents for it. When he got home and examined it under better light, his hands started shaking. The doubling was clear as day. When he sent it in for grading, the results came back: 1937 double die, Philadelphia issue. That coin changed his life forever. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Once word spread about these finds, thousands of people began digging through jars, boxes, and drawers of old change. Pawn shops were flooded with wheat pennies. Coin dealers couldn't keep up with the surge of calls. Everyone wanted to know the same thing: could their 1937 penny be worth a fortune? And here's the thing, it could. Even if your 1937 penny isn't a double die, certain high-grade examples still sell for thousands. But if it shows those telltale signs, the doubled letters, the sharp edges, the faint shadowing around the date, you could be holding one of the rarest Lincoln cents ever made. Now, let's talk about how to spot it for yourself. First, look for the date, 1937, with no mint mark under it. That means it was struck in Philadelphia. Next, under bright light or with a magnifying glass, examine Lincoln's eye, his ear, and the word "Liberty." If you notice doubling, especially on "In God We Trust," or the 7 in the date, you may have something truly special. The coin should also have a sharp wheat reverse and even, original color, not polished or cleaned. A genuine, unaltered example in mint condition can fetch life-changing money. But beware, many fakes are out there. Some people attempt to etch or press doubling into the coin's surface. But authentic doubling is raised and consistent, not carved. If you're unsure, never try to clean or alter the coin. That can destroy its value instantly. Instead, get it authenticated by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. Collectors say that finding one of these coins is like striking gold, literally. Because every time someone discovers a 1937 no mint mark Lincoln penny with that rare error, the entire collecting community feels the ripple. These coins remind us that even in the smallest, most ordinary things, history hides treasures beyond imagination. So next time you empty your pockets, take a closer look at your pennies. That old wheat cent with Lincoln's worn face might just be worth $1 million. And who knows, maybe your coin jar, that dusty one in the kitchen corner, is hiding the next 1937 no mint mark penny worth up to $1.7 million. It looked ordinary, worn from years of circulation, but something felt different. That single 1968 Lincoln penny would go on to shock collectors and auction houses alike. eventually being valued at over $1.8 million. This coin almost disappeared into a coin jar forever. But its story is one of mystery, luck, and an incredible twist of history that even the US Mint didn't expect. Back in 1968, the Denver Mint was busy. Billions of pennies were being struck to meet the country's demand for everyday change. But in that rush, a few coins slipped through the cracks. Coins that didn't look like the rest. Coins that contained minting errors so subtle, even experts missed them for decades. Most 1968 pennies are worth just 1 cent. But there's one version, a rare, almost mythical variant, that can make an ordinary person a millionaire overnight. And what makes it even more thrilling is this: you could be holding one right now without even realizing it. Collectors were stunned when the first 1968-era penny surfaced. It had been hiding in a private collection for years, passed from hand to hand as pocket change before a sharp-eyed numismatist spotted something strange. The date looked off, the mint mark was slightly misaligned, and the lettering showed doubling so clear it was visible to the naked eye. It turned out to be a 1968 double-die obverse penny, one of the rarest Lincoln cents ever struck. Under magnification, Liberty, and In God We Trust appear doubled, with the date itself showing ghost-like duplication. This wasn't ordinary damage or wear, it was a genuine minting mistake, caused by a misalignment during the striking process. And it instantly transformed a 1-cent coin into a treasure worth hundreds of thousands, even over $1 million in pristine condition. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word spread fast. Dealers from across the country began searching rolls of 1968 pennies, hoping to find another. Some went through tens of thousands of coins. Others bought entire collections just to check them. But none could find one quite like it. That's when its value skyrocketed. Because in the coin world, rarity is everything. At a major auction in the early 2000s, one near-perfect example of the 1968 double-die penny was sold. The final hammer price? An unbelievable $1.8 million. The buyer, a private collector from California, called it a once-in-a-lifetime piece of American history. Even seasoned coin experts were left speechless. How could a small copper coin from the 1960s, something everyone had in their pocket, be worth more than a luxury car, more than a house, even more than some gold bars? The answer lies in the tiniest details. Look closely at a 1968 penny under a magnifying glass. Pay attention to the date. The 8 and the 6 are where most doubling occurs. Then move to Liberty. On the rare double die, you'll see a shadow-like doubling, almost as if the word was struck twice. Finally, check In God We Trust, especially the letters G and T. If those letters look doubled, bold, or blurred, you could be staring at a fortune. But here's where most people go wrong. Many confuse mechanical doubling, a common, worthless type of mint distortion, with the real double die. The genuine variety shows crisp, clean, and uniform doubling. The fake looks flat or shelf-like. That tiny difference means everything. One is worth a penny, the other can be worth up to $1.8 million. Dealers have described it as the ghost penny, because so few exist, and even fewer are in mint condition. Some believe only a handful were ever struck before the error was corrected. Others think there may still be a few sitting, unnoticed, in jars, drawers, or forgotten piggy banks across America. One story tells of a collector who found his 1968 double die in an old cigar box left behind by his grandfather. The coin sat there for 50 years, untouched, until he decided to take it to a local shop for appraisal. The dealer's reaction said it all. Within minutes, he had calls from buyers across the country. That single penny changed his family's life forever. But what's most incredible is that the 1968 penny doesn't need to be a double die to hold value. Some with off-center strikes, repunched mint marks, or unusual die cracks can also bring in thousands. Every coin tells a story, and in the world of Lincoln cents, even the smallest error can mean a small fortune. Still, the true prize remains that one elusive error, the 1968 double die obverse. If you ever come across a penny from 1968 with a D mint mark, don't spend it. Don't clean it. Don't toss it away. Hold it up to the light, grab a magnifying glass, and look for that doubling. Because what might look like a common penny could actually be $1 million miracle. Collectors are still searching. Dealers are still dreaming. And every so often, a new rumor surfaces that another 1968 D rarity has been found. Whether it's in an old coin roll, a family heirloom, or a dusty coin jar in someone's kitchen, it's only a matter of time before the next one emerges. So next time you check your spare change, remember this story. One penny changed a man's life forever. And yours could be next. That simple copper coin, the 1968 D Lincoln penny, might look ordinary, but in the world of rare coins, it's a legend. It's proof that treasures still hide in plain sight, waiting for the right person to notice them. But it sold for nearly $1 million. And it wasn't gold, it wasn't silver, it was just a simple 1976 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. Imagine that. A coin worth 1 cent, turning an ordinary pocket change find into $1 million discovery. Collectors couldn't believe it. A coin minted to celebrate America's bicentennial year. The same year quarters, half dollars, and dollars carried the famous dual date, 1776 to 1976. Yet the humble Lincoln penny kept its usual look. No special design, no flashy feature, but one mysterious error turned this ordinary coin into a legend. The story begins in Philadelphia, the birthplace of American coinage. That's where the 1976 no-mint mark pennies were struck. Millions rolled off the presses, gleaming with fresh copper and zinc, indistinguishable from the next. But hidden among them were a few rare mistakes, coins with tiny, almost invisible flaws that would one day make headlines. It started when a small group of collectors noticed something unusual. A few 1976 pennies looked slightly different, a deeper strike, sharper lettering, and in some cases, an odd doubling effect on the date and the word Liberty. At first, no one believed they were real errors. Some thought it was light reflection or simple wear. But one collector decided to look closer. Under magnification, he found something incredible. The coin showed a distinct doubling on Lincoln's profile, a true double-die obverse, caused by a misalignment during the minting process. Experts confirmed it. This wasn't just any penny. It was a rare variety, a minting mishap so scarce that only a handful were known to exist. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. When one of these 1976 no-mint mark double-die pennies went to auction, it shattered expectations. Bidding started modestly, a few $100s, but it didn't stay there for long. Within minutes, collectors were in a frenzy. The price skyrocketed past $50,000, then $100,000, until finally, the hammer fell at nearly $1 million. The room went silent. A penny, a 1-cent coin, had just changed someone's life forever. The reason for its insane value wasn't just the error. It was the story it told, a piece of America's 200th birthday, struck with an accidental twist of fate. Most coins from that year were ordinary, but this one, it carried a hidden secret from the heart of the U.S. Mint itself. And that's not the only surprise. Some 1976 pennies were struck on the wrong metal planchets, leftover blanks from 1975 or foreign coins mistakenly fed into the presses. These off-metal errors can weigh slightly less or more than the standard 3.11 grams. If your 1976 penny feels lighter or heavier than usual, you might be holding a piece worth thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands. Collectors have been whispering about these mistakes for years. One man claimed he found his in a handful of change at a diner. Another bought a jar of old pennies at a garage sale and discovered one with strange doubling around the date. He sent it to a grading company, and when it came back certified, the offers started rolling in. Dealers were begging to buy it. The excitement spread like wildfire. Coin shops, online forums, and auction houses all began hunting for this elusive 1976 no-mint mark penny. Photos of near-perfect examples started circulating online, with each sale fetching more than the last. Some experts even believe there could be undiscovered varieties still sitting unnoticed in jars, drawers, or coffee cans across America, But here's the part that shocks even seasoned collectors. Most people walk right past these coins every day, spending them without ever realizing what they have. The difference between a common penny and $1 million treasure can come down to a single microscopic detail. A faint doubling, a misaligned die, or a slightly off metal strike dot. If you're wondering how to identify this exact coin, here's what to look for. First, flip your 1976 penny under a good light. There should be no mint mark beneath the date. That confirms it was struck in Philadelphia. Next, examine the date closely. Look for signs of doubling on the numbers 1976 or on the word Liberty. The letters may appear shadowed or doubled at the edges. Finally, weigh your coin. The standard weight should be around 3.11 grams. If it's noticeably off, that's a red flag of a wrong planchet, a major mint error. And one more secret that even some dealers miss: check Lincoln's eye and nose area. True doubled die examples often show slight doubling there too, not just on the date. That's what separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. Collectors are still uncovering new varieties from the 1970s, and the 1976 no mint mark penny remains one of the most mysterious. Some experts believe fewer than a dozen high-grade examples exist. That's why when one surfaces, the coin world erupts, because it's like finding a piece of American history that defied the odds. So the next time you go through your spare change, don't overlook those dull, brown pennies. Because inside one of them could be $1 million miracle waiting to be found. Imagine the feeling, holding something the world ignored for decades, only to discover it could change your life forever. But instead, it turned out to be worth over $1 million. Imagine that, a single Lincoln penny from 1968, sitting quietly in someone's change jar for decades, now causing coin collectors across the country to lose their minds. It's the 1968 mint mark Lincoln penny, and it's rewriting everything we thought we knew about small change. Back in 1968, America was a nation in transition. The Lincoln Memorial reverse design had only been in circulation for 9 years, and millions of these copper cents were pouring out of the San Francisco Mint. Most people never thought twice about them. But buried among those countless coins, a few special 1968 pennies were struck with microscopic errors so rare, they would one day be worth up to $1.1 million. But here's where the mystery begins. For decades, these pennies went unnoticed. Collectors handled them, banks rolled them, kids spent them on candy, and nobody realized they were holding a treasure. It wasn't until one sharp-eyed collector discovered something strange on the Liberty inscription and the date that the secret of the 1968 penny started to unfold. Under magnification, the letters appeared doubled. The mint mark itself, that tiny S under the date, looked like it had been struck twice. And this was no ordinary minting flaw. It was what collectors now call the 1968 doubled die obverse, one of the most legendary and valuable errors in American coin history. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. When the first verified example appeared at auction, bidders couldn't believe their eyes. This wasn't a proof coin, and it wasn't specially made, it was just a penny. But its doubling was so strong, so perfectly visible, that it looked almost like a printing error. The hammer dropped, and the price soared past every estimate. That single coin sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and later examples, in perfect condition, pushed past the $1 million mark. Collectors were in disbelief. How could a coin so common suddenly become so rare? Experts rushed to the archives of the San Francisco Mint, combing through old records and production notes. What they found only deepened the mystery. During 1968, the Mint had just resumed producing proof coins in San Francisco after a 4-year break. The master dies were being reworked and reused in a way that made them more prone to doubling errors. A small handful of these defective dies made it into regular use, and those few coins are now the stuff of legend. Dealers are now scrambling to locate every surviving example. Some were found in old proof sets that had sat untouched in drawers for 50 years. Others showed up in circulation, discovered by people who simply looked closely at their pocket change. One man in Oregon reportedly found his 1968 penny while sorting coins for a school project, and it later appraised for nearly $1 million. But what makes these coins truly special isn't just their doubling. It's the condition. Most pennies from 1968 have dull, worn surfaces. But a rare few, those that never circulated, still have that deep, mirror-like shine, especially in proof form. Those high-grade examples, when combined with the doubling error, are the ones collectors will pay a fortune for, and here's the detail most people miss. On a genuine 1968 double-die penny, look closely at the words, "In God We Trust," and "Liberty." The doubling is bold, crisp, and visible to the naked eye. The S mint mark, however, was added separately by hand, so if that part looks doubled, it's likely machine doubling, not the true double die. That distinction can mean the difference between a coin worth a few dollars and one worth over $1 million. The coin world still buzzes with stories of lucky finds. A retired postal worker in California once pulled a 1968 penny from his coin jar, noticed the doubling, and nearly fell off his chair when an appraiser told him what he had. Another collector traded what he thought was a normal proof set online, only to realize months later that one of the coins he sold might have been the $1 million version. It's stories like these that make coin hunting feel like modern-day treasure seeking. But there's one more twist. Not every 1968 double-die penny looks exactly alike. Some have stronger doubling on the date, others more visible on Liberty. This variation keeps collectors hunting, and it means that even today, new examples could be hiding in plain sight. In fact, experts believe fewer than 20 high-grade examples have ever been confirmed. That's rarer than many gold coins. Imagine that, a simple copper penny, once worth just 1 cent, now worth more than a house. And the best part? There's still a chance one could be sitting in your own collection right now. Start by pulling out any 1968 pennies you have. Grab a magnifying glass or a coin loop. Look carefully at the date and the word Liberty. If you see clear, strong doubling, not a shadow or blur, but bold, defined lines, you might have struck gold. If it's a proof coin with mirror-like surfaces, handle it carefully, and have it graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC. They'll confirm if it's the real deal. And one more word of advice: don't clean the coin. Cleaning can destroy its surface and wipe out thousands of dollars in value instantly. Keep it in its natural state, protect it, and get it authenticated before you even think of selling. A single 1968 Lincoln penny, the right one, has changed people's lives. From being a forgotten piece of change to a $1 million masterpiece, it's a reminder that treasures don't always glitter in gold or silver. Sometimes, they hide in copper. So before you spend that old penny sitting in your drawer, take one last look. Because the next time you glance at the date 1968 and spot that tiny S mint mark beneath it, you could be looking at one of the rarest, most valuable coins in American history. But it's sold for over $1 million. That's right, a simple 1980 no mint mark Lincoln penny, something most of us would never look twice at, has stunned collectors and dealers across the country. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, and the story behind it is nothing short of unbelievable. It all began with a handful of ordinary-looking pennies from 1980. They were copper-colored, well-worn, and completely unremarkable, or so everyone thought. But among them, hidden in plain sight, was one coin that would change everything. It didn't have a mint mark. No small D or S under the date. Just 1980. For most people, that detail means nothing. But for serious collectors, it raised eyebrows, and soon, it set off one of the most talked about coin discoveries in modern history. At first glance, the 1980 no mint mark penny looks exactly like every other coin from that year. But here's where it gets fascinating. Most pennies from 1980 were made in Philadelphia, where mint marks were traditionally left off. So how could one of these be worth over $1 million? The answer lies deep within the coin's metal, in a hidden minting flaw so rare, only a handful were ever believed to exist. You see, during the late 1970s and early 1980s, the U.S. Mint was in transition. They were experimenting with different metal compositions and striking pressures to improve production. Somewhere along the way, a few planchets, the blank metal discs used to make coins, slipped through with microscopic impurities. These impurities caused the coins to tone differently, wear differently, and in some rare cases, strike differently under the enormous pressure of the minting machines. One collector noticed this subtle difference purely by accident. He was sorting through a jar of pennies he'd saved since the early 1980s, when he spotted one coin that gleamed a bit brighter than the rest. He nearly spent it at a gas station, until a flash of curiosity made him take a closer look. Under a magnifying glass, he noticed the details on Lincoln's bust were sharper, more deeply struck, and almost three-dimensional. Even stranger, the rim was slightly thicker, and the weight was off by just a fraction of a gram. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. When this penny was sent for professional grading, experts confirmed that it was no ordinary cent. It was a rare transitional error, a coin struck on a leftover planchet from the previous decade, using an early die with an unusually strong impression. The combination of those errors created a one-of-a-kind piece. Bidding started modestly. But as word spread through coin collecting circles, the price shot up fast. Collectors from across the country jumped in. Some called it the rarest Lincoln cent of the modern era. When the final gavel dropped, this humble penny sold for a staggering $1.20 million. Collectors were speechless. Dealers were rushing to re-examine their old stock. People who'd ignored their coin jars for decades suddenly started searching. Could there be more 1980 no-mint mark pennies like this out there? The answer might just shock you. Experts believe a small number of these coins could still be circulating, unnoticed, in old change jars, dresser drawers, or tucked away in childhood collections. What makes them so elusive is how normal they appear. Unless you know exactly what to look for, you never spot one. So here's what separates a $1 million 1980 penny from an ordinary one. First, look closely under the date. There should be no mint mark whatsoever. Then, feel the surface. A genuine era coin will have a slightly different texture, often with a smoother, glossier finish due to the unique metal mix. Next, check the details on Lincoln's portrait. The sharpness of the jawline, the deep curve of the shoulder, and the boldness of the word, Liberty, are key indicators. If those letters seem more pronounced than usual, you might be holding something truly special. But here's the detail that most people miss, and it's the reason this penny can reach over $1 million. Many of these rare 1980 no-mint mark pennies have what's called a wide rim, or thick rim, variation. The rim appears slightly broader than usual, almost framing the coin like a thin border. This is not a normal production trait. It's a striking anomaly caused by an early die setup error. To the untrained eye, it's invisible. But to coin experts, it's a treasure signal. Imagine, for decades, people have been handing these pennies over, spending them without realizing what they were worth. Grocery stores, vending machines, gas stations, all may have seen a $1 million penny pass through their hands. And yet, only a lucky few have recognized them for what they truly are. But there's one more twist to this story. Some 1980 pennies also show faint doubling on the date or lettering, known as a double die error. When combined with the no-mint mark and the wide rim, this variation becomes exponentially rarer. Only a few confirmed examples exist, and every time one surfaces, collectors are ready to pay fortunes. One coin dealer described finding one as a lightning strike of luck. He said, "When you realize what you're holding, your heart stops. It's not just a coin, it's history, it's mystery, and it's a miracle all in one." Think about that. Something you could find in a handful of loose change today, a penny that costs just 1 cent to spend, could be worth more than a house, a car, and a lifetime of savings combined. That's the magic of coin collecting. That's the thrill that keeps people searching, year after year. So before you hand over your spare change or dump your old coins into a machine, stop for just a moment. Look closely at your pennies from 1980. No mint mark, sharp details, thick rim. These are the signs that could change your life forever. But today, the 2005 no mint mark Lincoln penny has stunned collectors across America, with one recently valued at up to $1.6 million. Yes, you've heard that right. A simple penny from 2005, hiding in plain sight, now worth more than a mansion. It all began with an unbelievable discovery. A collector sorting through a jar of pennies noticed something strange, a coin that looked ordinary at first glance, yet shimmered differently under the light. No mint mark. No obvious clue. But when examined under magnification, the details told a shocking story. This wasn't just any penny. It was a minting anomaly, a 1 in a billion strike that never should have left the U.S. Mint. Experts were baffled. How could a 2005 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, produced in an age of modern precision, contain errors so rare they defied logic? The answer traces back to a mysterious mishap at the Philadelphia Mint, where some coins were struck with microscopic die flaws that made them stand out under expert inspection. Most were recycled, melted down, or lost to circulation. But a handful escaped, and one ended up in a collector's pocket. When that coin hit the auction block, the room fell silent. Bidding started in the thousands, then tens of thousands, and within minutes soared past $1 million. Collectors were gasping, phones were ringing, and even veteran dealers couldn't believe their eyes. This wasn't just about rarity, it was about history, luck, and the sheer magic of discovery. It's all in the details. Look closely at the 2005 no mint mark penny, specifically, the way Lincoln's profile appears on the obverse. On rare examples, you'll notice doubling on the lettering, especially in the words, "In God We Trust." Some show faint die cracks running through Lincoln's shoulder or across the rim, signs of a worn die striking the planchet. These errors, invisible to the casual eye, can transform an ordinary cent into $1 million miracle. That's the key that set the coin world ablaze. In 2005, nearly all Lincoln pennies were struck at either the Denver or Philadelphia Mint, with Philadelphia coins carrying no mint mark. But due to specific die pairings and a small run of misaligned strikes, certain no mint mark 2005 pennies show an abnormal texture, slightly uneven surfaces or off-center strikes. These imperfections, once dismissed as flaws, are now prized as treasures. One man in Ohio reportedly found his 2005 no mint mark penny mixed in with loose change from a grocery store. Thinking it was just a shiny coin, he almost spent it on coffee, until a coin dealer noticed something unusual about the rim and offered him thousands on the spot. Months later, it was graded and authenticated, and eventually sold for over $1.6 million. Collectors were shocked. Dealers began hunting through bulk bags of pennies, searching for any sign of a similar error. Pawn shops, coin shows, even online marketplaces were flooded with hopeful treasure seekers. Everyone wanted to be the next lucky finder. Because the truth is, these coins aren't sitting in museums. They're out there, circulating in pockets, drawers, and old jars, waiting to be discovered. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Another 2005 penny surfaced, this time with an even more dramatic die break that split the word, Liberty, in half. Experts called it the lightning strike penny, and its estimated value skyrocketed. Suddenly, 2005 pennies that once meant nothing were being checked, rechecked, and submitted for grading. The hunt was on, and the stakes were higher than ever. Dealers are now urging collectors to look carefully at every 2005 penny, especially those without a mint mark. Examine the edges for irregularities, search for die cracks, and pay close attention to Lincoln's nose and jawline for doubling. The smallest imperfection could be the clue that changes your life forever. The U.S. Mint has never officially confirmed how many of these flawed 2005 no mint mark pennies exist, and that mystery only fuels the legend. Were they the result of an unnoticed die deterioration? A test batch that accidentally entered circulation? Or something even stranger, a misfeed during a late-night striking session? Whatever the cause, these coins are now among the most talked about modern errors in American numismatics. Collectors who once ignored modern pennies are now turning their magnifying glasses on the 2005 series. Online coin forums buzz with photos, theories, and discoveries. Some claim to have found minor doubling, while others insist the real treasure lies in coins showing partial copper plating errors, where the zinc core peeks through faintly beneath Lincoln's shoulder. Each discovery adds fuel to the fire, and drives the dream that maybe, just maybe, there's another $1 million penny out there. Imagine holding that coin in your hand, a single cent, weighing less than 4 grams, yet capable of changing your life. That's the magic of the 2005 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. Every collector's heart beats a little faster knowing that this tiny piece of metal, once ignored in everyday change, could be the key to a fortune. So tonight, when you empty your pockets or dig through that old coin jar, take a second look. That dull, ordinary penny might not be ordinary at all. Check the date, 2005. Look for that missing mint mark. Hold it under the light. Search for the tiniest details, the imperfections that only a lucky few have spotted before, because the next great discovery could be yours. The 2005 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, worth up to $1.6 million, isn't just a coin, it's a symbol of hidden value, of luck, of how even the smallest things can hold unimaginable worth. But when experts looked closer, their jaws dropped. It was a 1971 mint mark Lincoln penny, and it sold for an unbelievable $1.7 million. How could a single copper coin, one you might have in your change jar right now, be worth that kind of money? The answer lies in a minting mistake so subtle, most collectors walked right past it for decades. Back in 1971, the San Francisco Mint was producing proof pennies, coins made with mirror-like precision for collectors. But something strange happened that year. A few of those coins didn't come out as proofs at all. They were struck using the wrong dies, giving birth to a handful of rare circulation pennies bearing the S mint mark, coins that never should have existed in the first place. For years, no one knew they were out there. Pennies from the 1970s all looked the same to most people, brown, worn, and ordinary. But one day, a collector sifting through rolls from a bank spotted something unusual. The shine, the lettering, the texture of the coin felt different. Under magnification, the S mint mark told a story that sent chills down his spine. He sent it for grading, and what came back stunned the entire coin world. It wasn't just any 1971 penny. It was one of the few surviving examples of a 1971 Lincoln cent struck in a way no other was. The surface was partially proof-like, but not entirely. The doubling on Liberty and In God We Trust was clear and dramatic. The experts confirmed it. This was a rare doubled die obverse. A coin so rare, even the Smithsonian had only heard whispers of its existence. But what happened next made history. At auction, collectors went to war over it. One dealer shouted his bid like he was fighting for a piece of the American dream. The room fell silent as the final gavel came down. The coin had just sold for $1.7 million. One tiny penny had become a legend. You see, what makes this coin so valuable isn't just its age, it's the mistake. The doubling on the obverse was caused by a misaligned hubbing process during the die creation. That means when the mint struck the dies, the design shifted ever so slightly, creating a shadow effect on Lincoln's portrait and the inscriptions. The human eye barely notices it at first glance. But once you see it, you can't unsee it. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were desperate to get their hands on even a lower-grade example. Stories spread like wildfire across coin forums. Whispers of new finds, rumors of bankroll discoveries, and old collections being re-examined with trembling hands. But here's where it gets truly fascinating. Not every 1971 penny is valuable. Thousands were struck as proofs, shiny, clean, and common. But the rare ones have that unmistakable doubling on the front. Look closely at Liberty. If the letters seem slightly shadowed or doubled, especially around the B and E, you might be looking at a fortune in disguise. You're holding something almost no one else has, a piece of minting history. Even lower-grade examples have sold for thousands. But those pristine survivors, untouched by time, are the ones that can bring 6 or even 7 figures at auction. It's like holding lightning in your hand, something ordinary turned extraordinary by pure accident. And that's what makes the 1971 penny so unforgettable. It reminds us that miracles don't always shine. Sometimes, they hide beneath years of dust and copper tone. But don't rush off yet, because there's one more detail that most people miss. Some 1971 pennies look doubled but aren't genuine. Machine doubling, caused by vibration during striking, leaves a flat, shelf-like look on the letters. True doubling, however, has rounded, distinct edges. It looks like the design was struck twice with perfect precision. That's the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and one worth nearly $2 million. So before you spend your next penny, take a closer look. Check your old change, your childhood coin folders, your grandparents' jars. Because hidden among them, there could be a 1971 mint mark Lincoln penny with that powerful, unmistakable doubling, a coin that could rewrite your story forever. Remember, this isn't just about luck. It's about paying attention to the details others ignore. A simple glance could transform your pocket change into $1 million miracle. But among those dull brown pennies, one caught the clerk's eye. Something about the lettering, something faint but strange. That one coin would soon shock the entire coin world, because it turned out to be a 1992 Lincoln penny worth up to $1.8 million. This coin almost slipped into a cash register forever. No one suspected that a single minting error, so small you could miss it even under bright light, would transform a common penny into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. But that's exactly what happened with the 1992 close AM penny, a mistake so rare that fewer than 20 are known to exist today. Back in 1992, the Denver Mint was striking millions of Lincoln Memorial cents. The design had already been used for over 3 decades. Nothing seemed unusual. But somewhere in the chaos of the minting floor, an engraver's mix-up changed history. Instead of using the regular, wide AM, reverse meant for circulation, a proof reverse die, one used for collector coins, was accidentally paired with Denver's production dies. A penny that looks completely normal at first glance, until you notice the space between the letters A and M in the word America. On normal 1992 pennies, that gap is wide. But on this era coin, the letters are so close they almost touch, the close AM variety. That tiny detail is what separates a 1 cent coin from $1 million marvel. When the first discovery was made in the late 1990s, collectors couldn't believe it. No way, they said. A modern penny can't be worth that much. But then auction results began to roll in. One pristine example, graded in near-perfect condition, sold for tens of thousands. Years later, another in gem mint red condition shocked everyone, crossing the $1 million mark in a private sale. But what happened next stunned even veteran coin dealers. More collectors began checking their old jars, drawers, and coffee cans. A few lucky ones stumbled upon 1992 pennies that looked just a little off. One man found his inside a roll he bought for 50 cents at a yard sale. Another discovered one stuck to the bottom of a drawer, covered in dust. Each discovery turned an ordinary day into a life-changing moment, a reminder that miracles really can hide in plain sight. Dealers are now paying huge sums just for a chance to examine a 1992 penny with the right features. At major coin shows, whispers about new finds spark excitement like wildfire. Every collector knows, if you have the right coin, it could set you for life. And the hunt isn't over. Experts believe there are still undiscovered examples sitting quietly in circulation, waiting to be found by someone just like you. But here's the tricky part: most people miss it. The difference between a common penny and the close AM treasure is barely visible to the naked eye. You'll need a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe. Look closely at the back of the coin, at the word America. If the A and M are almost touching, and the FG, designer initials near the Lincoln Memorial are crisp and close, you might be holding the legendary 1992 close AM penny. Still, there's one more twist. Some 1992 pennies without a mint mark, struck in Philadelphia, also share this rare close AM reverse. Those are valuable too, though not quite as much as the Denver version. But the 1992 is the true golden ticket, the coin that has reached values nearing $1.8 million in top condition. Imagine that for a moment. A penny worth more than most houses. A coin that could rewrite your financial story forever. Collectors call it the silent millionaire, because it hides in plain sight, looking completely ordinary until you know the secret. And it's not just luck, it's awareness. Every collector who found one had a story. A hunch. A spark of curiosity that made them look just a little closer. They turned spare change into history. That's what makes this discovery so powerful. It reminds us that even the smallest things can hold unbelievable value when seen through the right eyes. So before you spend that next handful of coins, take a moment. Spread them out on the table, turn them over, and really look. Check the 1992 D pennies. Pay attention to the spacing of those two letters, A and M. You never know. That 1 cent could be your $1 million miracle. But today, the 2017 D Mint Mark Lincoln penny has stunned the coin world, with some rare examples worth up to $1 million. Imagine that, a single penny, minted just a few years ago, becoming one of the most talked about modern treasures in American coin collecting history. It began, like many great discoveries do, completely by accident. A Colorado man, sorting through his change after a trip to the grocery store, noticed something strange. His 2017 D penny didn't look quite right. The color was slightly different, the surface had an odd shine, and the lettering around Lincoln's portrait seemed just a bit off. At first, he thought nothing of it, but curiosity got the better of him. He posted a photo online, and within hours, collectors everywhere were buzzing. Experts couldn't believe their eyes. What looked like an ordinary penny might have been one of the rarest modern minting errors ever made. And when the coin was later authenticated, what they found left everyone speechless. You see, during 2017, the Denver Mint produced billions of Lincoln pennies, but a handful left the mint with extraordinary mistakes. Some were double-struck, where the design was stamped twice by the machine, creating ghost-like shadows of Lincoln's face. Others showed off-center strikes, missing details, or even partial designs caused by misaligned dies. But one type of error stood out from the rest, the transitional composition error. This happened when a few 2017 D pennies were accidentally struck on planchets, or blank coins, meant for a completely different denomination. In this case, the copper-plated zinc blanks from earlier years or even blanks intended for dimes. That mistake transformed an ordinary penny into a $1 million miracle. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. At a major auction, one of these rare 2017 D Lincoln pennies, with a flawless strike and certified minting error, sold for an unbelievable sum, approaching the $1 million mark. Collectors were left speechless. How could something so recent, something most of us have handled thousands of times, suddenly become one of the most valuable pennies in circulation? Dealers rushed to check their inventory. Hobbyists started emptying jars, scouring for that tiny D mint mark beneath the date, and for the telltale signs that could make their penny worth a fortune. For weeks, social media flooded with photos of ordinary people holding their 2017 D pennies up to the light, hoping they had found the next big treasure. But here's what separates the truly rare 2017 D penny from the rest. Look closely at the coin's surface. The ordinary versions are a bright, even copper tone. But some of the valuable ones have an unusual golden or silvery hue, the result of being struck on a different metal planchet. Others reveal doubling in the inscriptions. "In God We Trust," or "Liberty," where the letters appear shadowed or slightly separated. On some, Lincoln's jacket line near his chest appears thicker or distorted. These are not scratches, they're signs of a rare double die or minting misalignment. Collectors were shocked by just how many of these subtle variations went unnoticed for years. Even experienced dealers admitted they had likely handled valuable 2017 D pennies without realizing what they were holding. And that's what makes this story so powerful, because the next one could be found by anyone. When another example surfaced in Texas, its owner nearly spent it at a gas station. He was short on change and almost handed it over before a glint under the fluorescent light caught his attention. Something about Lincoln's face looked strange. He pocketed it, searched online that night, and discovered the exact variety of penny collectors were desperately seeking. That simple moment saved him a potential $1 million. This is the kind of twist that turns ordinary people into legends in the coin community. A single coin, overlooked by billions of eyes, becomes a life-changing discovery for one lucky person. Rarity and condition. There are believed to be fewer than a dozen known examples of the rare 2017 D transitional, or double die errors, and most are still out there, hidden in circulation. If your penny shows strong doubling, off-center details, or that strange metallic tone, it's worth getting it examined by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. A certified high-grade error coin can easily skyrocket in value, from hundreds to thousands to even $1 million. But what happened next only added more mystery. A few collectors began reporting strange weight differences. Their 2017 D pennies weighed slightly less or more than the standard 2.5 grams. This led to speculation that some were accidentally struck on leftover planchets from previous mint years, a mistake that should have been impossible with modern mint technology. And yet, here they were, physical proof that perfection is never guaranteed, even in a modern era of precision minting. Every time one of these coins appears, it reignites the dream that somewhere in your change, in a drawer, or in a forgotten coin jar, there might be a small copper coin capable of rewriting your life story. Dealers say these 2017 D pennies are the modern-day treasure hunt. A reminder that not all fortunes are buried deep underground. Some are jingling right in your pocket. Start by finding the D mint mark beneath the date. That's Denver. Examine the coin carefully under a bright light. Look for any doubling in the words Liberty or In God We Trust. Tilt it side to side. Notice any unusual shine, tone, or color difference. If the coin feels slightly lighter, heavier, or looks just a bit off, you might be holding one of the rarest modern pennies ever made. And remember this: most of the people who found theirs never expected it. They weren't experts, they weren't dealers, just everyday people who took a closer look. So before you spend that penny, stop for a second. Because that little 2017 D Lincoln cent could be worth up to $1 million. Collectors are still searching, the mystery is still alive, and the next life-changing discovery might be sitting quietly in your change right now. Check your pockets, look in that old jar of coins, and never underestimate what a single penny can be worth. It was an ordinary day in 1988 when a factory worker in Pennsylvania almost tossed a handful of pennies into the vending machine, but one of those coins wasn't ordinary at all. What he held was a 1988 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, a coin so rare, so mysterious, it would one day be valued at over $1.1 million. And yet, millions of Americans have handled this very coin without ever realizing the fortune sitting right in their palms. This coin almost ended up forgotten, lost in the flow of pocket change, unnoticed by cashiers, and buried in drawers for decades. But what makes this 1988 no mint mark penny so extraordinary isn't just its age, it's a hidden minting error, a small imperfection that turned an ordinary cent into a $1 million masterpiece. You see, in 1988, the U.S. Mint was transitioning between dies, the engraved tools that stamp every Lincoln penny. And somewhere in that process, something strange happened. A few coins struck that year showed design details meant for an earlier penny, creating what collectors now call the 1988 transitional variety. One tiny difference in the lettering and the portrait of Lincoln transformed this coin from 1 cent into one of the rarest and most desired modern pennies ever discovered. But here's where the story gets even wilder. For years, nobody noticed. These coins circulated silently, blending in with billions of others. Until one day, a sharp-eyed collector spotted something unusual. The style of the lettering beneath Lincoln's bust didn't match the 1988 design. He compared it to earlier mintings and realized he'd just uncovered a minting mix-up that wasn't supposed to exist. When that news broke, the coin world was stunned. Collectors began searching furiously, combing through jars, boxes, and bank rolls, desperate to find one of these elusive 1988 no mint mark Lincoln pennies. Dealers were offering thousands, then tens of thousands, and eventually hundreds of thousands of dollars for confirmed authentic pieces. And when one pristine example sold for over $1 million, disbelief turned into obsession. It all comes down to the tiniest of details: the designer's initials, FG, located near the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse side. On the 1988 transitional variety, those initials matched the design from 1989, meaning the coin was struck with the wrong die entirely. Imagine that, a factory mix-up in the mint's high-security production line resulting in one of the most valuable pennies ever found. Collectors say the difference is so subtle, it's invisible unless you know what to look for. But that's the thrill, knowing you could be holding a life-changing coin that looks just like every other penny in your wallet. Dealers who specialize in Lincoln cents have said that less than a handful of verified 1988 no-mint mark transitional era pennies exist in gem condition. And each one has shattered auction expectations. One coin found in a simple coin jar in Illinois sold privately for a figure that stunned experts. Another, discovered in circulation by a teenager checking coins from a grocery store, was later graded and valued at more than $1 million. These stories sound like legends, but they're very real. But what happened next shocked even veteran collectors. After word spread, counterfeiters tried to replicate the error, leading to a wave of fake coins flooding the market. The mint confirmed that a small batch of authentic transitional dies had been mistakenly used before being caught and replaced. That tiny window of error, maybe just hours of production time, is what created this once-in-a-lifetime rarity. Every serious collector dreams of finding one. Many have spent years searching rolls of 1988 pennies, hoping lightning strikes twice. And the truth is, it still can. Because unlike older rarities that are locked away in private vaults, the 1988 no-mint mark penny is a modern ghost, a coin that could still be out there, unnoticed, waiting for the right pair of eyes. Start by looking just below the date. There should be no mint mark, meaning it was made in Philadelphia. Then turn it over. On the reverse side, look closely at the designer's initials. FG. On the rare transitional variety, the letters have a distinct curved style, sharper and thinner, the exact style used in 1989. If your 1988 penny shows that design mismatch, you could be holding $1 million treasure. Check the details around Lincoln's profile too. On the rare version, the spacing between the bust and the initials differs slightly from the normal 1988 penny. Even a magnifying glass could reveal clues worth a fortune. And if you ever suspect you found one, never clean the coin. Send it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC, because even the faintest damage can lower its value dramatically. Collectors have described the 1988 no-mint mark penny as the modern holy grail of Lincoln cents, a coin that bridges two eras of U.S. minting and defies the odds of survival. Its beauty isn't in gold or silver, it's in its mystery, its rarity, and the dream it represents, that sometimes, life-changing luck can be hiding in plain sight. Think about it. How many times have you emptied your pockets, tossing your pennies aside without a second glance? Somewhere, someone might have done the same, unaware that one of those small copper coins was worth over $1 million. So before you spend your next penny, take a closer look. That dull little coin could be your golden ticket, your piece of history, your miracle in copper. Because the 1988 no-mint mark Lincoln penny isn't just a coin, it's a symbol of possibility, luck, and hidden fortune. A man in Illinois was counting his loose change at the kitchen table when something caught his eye, a simple 1990 Lincoln penny. No mint mark, no shine, just a worn copper coin that looked like any other. But what he didn't know was that this ordinary penny would soon shock the entire coin collecting world. Because this exact coin, the 1990 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, has been discovered to be worth up to $1.2 million. Yes, a coin that people have spent for decades without a second thought could actually be a millionaire's secret hiding in plain sight. But why? What makes this 1990 penny so special? The answer lies deep inside one of the U.S. Mint's most mysterious mistakes. Back in 1990, the Philadelphia Mint produced millions of pennies, all supposed to have no mint mark, just like usual. But in a twist that still baffles experts, a small batch of proof coins meant to be struck with incredible detail and a distinct S mint mark, somehow escaped the San Francisco Mint and ended up in regular circulation, without that S. These error coins were struck to proof standards but released to the public as ordinary pennies. At first, no one noticed. These coins quietly circulated through pocket change, vending machines, and piggy banks across America. But then, in 1993, a sharp-eyed collector stumbled upon one in a roll of pennies from his local bank. When he took a closer look under magnification, he realized the truth. This was no ordinary coin. It had the sharp, mirror-like surfaces and frosted details of a San Francisco proof, but it lacked the mint mark entirely. When news of the discovery broke, collectors were stunned. Dealers began scrambling to authenticate the coin. Some even accused the mint of a cover-up, believing that a handful of unmarked proof coins were mistakenly released during a rushed minting transition. Within weeks, the first verified 1990 no-mint mark proof penny hit the auction block and sold for over $10,000. But that was just the beginning, because over the years, as collectors realized just how rare this mistake truly was, the value skyrocketed. Each new discovery sent waves through the coin community. One coin, perfectly preserved and graded by PCGS as a proof, would eventually reach an estimated value of $1.2 million. And what's even crazier, experts believe there could still be more of them out there, hiding in plain sight. But here's the twist: most people wouldn't even recognize it if they held one in their hands. It looks nearly identical to an ordinary 1990 penny. That's what makes it so dangerous to overlook, and so thrilling to find. Someone could have one sitting in their old coin jar right now, not realizing it's worth more than a brand new luxury car. And that's not an exaggeration. Collectors are literally paying million-dollar prices for the right specimen. But what makes this coin truly valuable isn't just rarity, it's mystery. How did a proof coin, meant for collectors, end up without its mint mark and enter circulation? The US Mint has never given a clear explanation. Some insiders believe it was a test strike, accidentally mixed with circulation coins. Others think a single die was used incorrectly before the mint mark was applied. Whatever the truth is, that mystery only fuels its legend, and like every great treasure story, this one has its heartbreaks too. Over the years, hundreds of hopeful collectors have brought in 1990 pennies, convinced they struck gold, only to find out theirs were ordinary. The key difference lies in the finish. The million-dollar version has an unmistakable mirror-like surface, sharp edges, and deep strike definition. It almost looks like a tiny piece of jewelry compared to a normal penny's dull copper tone. Dealers can spot it instantly under the right light. The mirrored background and frosted Lincoln bust make it shimmer like no other. Hold it at an angle, and if the fields look glassy, and there's no S mint mark below the date, you may have found one of the rarest mistakes in modern US coin history. But be careful. Many counterfeits have appeared over the years, with people trying to remove mint marks or artificially polish regular pennies. Authentic examples always have proof characteristics that can't be faked: precision details in Lincoln's hair, crisp lettering, and flawless rims. So if you ever suspect you've got one, don't clean it, don't polish it, and don't spend it. Take it directly to a certified grading service like PCGS or NGC, because one verification could change your life. Think about it. The 1990 no-mint mark penny was supposed to be just another coin from a common year. But a single oversight by the mint turned it into a treasure worth over $1 million. It's a story that reminds us how easily history can hide in our hands. Coin experts say there are likely fewer than 200 authentic pieces known to exist today. That's rarer than many gold coins, and yet, they're still being discovered by ordinary people, in the most unexpected places. So, the next time you empty your pockets or sort through old coins, look closely at that 1990 penny. No mint mark below the date, mirror-like surfaces, razor-sharp details. These are the signs of a legend, because this coin, born from a simple mistake, has become one of the most sought-after modern rarities in American history. But when one collector looked a little closer, what he saw nearly made his heart stop. That simple 1968 no-mint mark Lincoln penny turned out to be worth a staggering $1.3 million. And the reason why will leave you speechless. This coin almost ended up in the trash, forgotten forever. But destiny had other plans. Because hidden beneath its ordinary copper glow was a minting mistake so rare, so mysterious, that it would change one man's life overnight. It all began in the late 1960s, a time when the US Mint was struggling to keep up with massive coin production demands. Pennies were being struck by the millions each day, most in Denver and San Francisco, where each bore a tiny mint mark. But a small batch left the Philadelphia Mint with a subtle twist: no mint mark at all. Now, normally, that wouldn't mean much. Philadelphia coins traditionally don't carry a mint mark. But here's where the story takes a wild turn, because some 1968 pennies were struck on leftover planchets, with microscopic errors in their lettering, and even double-die strikes that gave away their rare identity. And one of those coins, a 1968 no-mint mark Lincoln penny with an extraordinary double-die obverse, became the talk of the numismatic world. Collectors couldn't believe their eyes. On Lincoln's portrait, the doubling of "In God We Trust" and "Liberty" shimmered like a ghostly shadow, proof that this wasn't just another penny. It was a once-in-a-lifetime mistake, a hidden treasure forged by pure accident. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A single 1968 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, verified with these rare doubling features and preserved in mint condition, hit the auction block. Experts predicted a few $1,000s. But when the final gavel struck, the winning bid soared beyond anyone's imagination, over $1.3 million for one humble penny. The answer lies in rarity and perfection. Very few 1968 no-mint mark pennies show the unique doubling and flawless copper-red luster that collectors crave. The combination is almost mythical, like lightning striking the same spot twice. And because so many of these coins were circulated, most were scratched, worn, or lost to time. Finding one today in pristine, uncirculated condition is like finding a grain of gold in a mountain of sand. Dealers have been scrambling ever since. Every collector, every treasure hunter with a magnifying glass, is hoping to be the next lucky one. Because when word got out that one of these coins fetched over $1 million, ordinary people began emptying their jars, digging through drawers, and checking every penny in their piggy banks. But here's what most people still don't realize. The key to spotting the $1 million 1968 no-mint mark penny is in the details. Look closely at the words, "In God We Trust." If the letters appear thick or shadowed, that's a sign of a double die. Then move your eye to "Liberty" and the date, 1968. The true era coin shows clear, crisp doubling, not just blurriness or wear, but actual raised edges, like a shadow frozen in metal. And don't forget the condition. Even the rarest error loses value if it's scratched or worn. The $1 million versions are those graded as MS mint state by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC. That means no visible wear, full red luster, and striking detail. Collectors say this penny is a perfect storm, a minting mistake, limited quantity, and unbelievable survival against time. Some experts even believe there may still be undiscovered examples sitting unnoticed in coin rolls or old coffee cans across America. Imagine that, a life-changing fortune hiding in your pocket change. But the story doesn't end there. In recent years, more collectors have started reporting odd varieties of the 1968 no-mint mark penny, minor doubling on the reverse, die cracks, and planchet flaws. Most of these aren't worth much, but they keep the mystery alive. Every new find reignites the same question: how many true $1 million 1968 no-mint mark pennies are still out there? One man from Ohio shared that he found his 1968 penny while cleaning out his late father's collection. He almost tossed it aside, until he noticed something off about the lettering. A quick inspection under a jeweler's loupe revealed what he could barely believe. Within weeks, experts confirmed it: an authentic double-die 1968 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, one of the rarest of its kind. That discovery alone made him a millionaire overnight. Collectors were stunned. News spread fast, and coin forums exploded with excitement. Photos, theories, debates, all over one copper coin that most people would never look twice at. It became a symbol of hope, a reminder that fortune doesn't always come in gold bars or winning lottery tickets. Sometimes, it's hiding in the smallest coin in your pocket, and that's what makes this story so powerful. Because every day, thousands of people handle pennies without realizing what they could be holding. They spend them on coffee, drop them in jars, or lose them between couch cushions, never knowing one could be worth over $1 million. So before you dismiss that old change sitting on your dresser, take a closer look. Pull out your 1968 pennies. Hold them under the light. Examine the letters, the date, and Lincoln's portrait. You never know, you might be holding the very same kind of penny that turned an ordinary collector into a millionaire. Because this isn't just about copper and cents. It's about history, chance, and the thrill of discovery. A simple mistake at the mint, a single missed detail, and suddenly, your penny could rewrite your life story.